Hiya, my name's Charlie and welcome to my channel and welcome to my weekly reads. How are you guys? Let me know in the comments below how you're doing, have you had a good week, what you've been up to, etc, etc, etc. So before I get into all the nutty stuff, as I always say every single week, I'm going to go into what I've read since the last time I spoke to you. I've also got some books to show you that I've picked up this last week or so. So the first book I'm going to start with is a poetry collection that I read last Friday, which is Sonnets for Albert by Anthony Joseph. This was one I picked up on a bookshop crawl when I was shopping with the booktubers, and specifically Katie from Books and Things recommended this. And I'm so pleased she did because it's a cracking collection. I think it's like autobiographical, and the author is a British Trinidadian author, and I think it's mainly like very focused about talking about his like relationship with his father predominantly. So yeah. It's really like, obviously I'm not the best at talking about poetry collections, but I do want to, like, again, as with all poetry collections, read it a bit more and take some more time with it, because I did just read it in the one day because I'm still doing my book a day thing. But yeah, really good collection. Then the next book I finished was Days at the Murasaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagisawa. In this book we follow Keiko and I don't know how that's pronounced exactly, sorry, and basically her life is in freefall. She's just broken up with her fiance, and then she gets a phone call from her uncle Oji-san, and he's working in a bookshop, so she is sort of then goes to sort of help him out. And at the beginning of the book she isn't really a reader, she hasn't really read for a long time, any books for a long time, she kind of doesn't understand the sort of love of books, and she's very disconnected from everything, like I said, in her life, in people, everything. And then one day I think she's like drawn to like one of the books, and it just sparks a love of reading Japanese literature. After that, basically, it's sort of everything that happens. Then it's sort of the plot is sort of from that point onwards. Obviously, I don't want to spoil the whole book because it's very small. But yeah, it was a good book. I don't think I liked it as much as the last book I read, but like my last recent book, like bookshoppy book that I read, but I did still enjoy it. So yeah, it was good. It's a nice, lovely little book, and I love the cover so much. So the next book I'm going to talk to you about is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. This is kind of like a does what it says on the tin kind of book. I've spoken about this virtually every single week. And it's the main characters are betrothed. We've got Gwen and Art, and Gwen's dad is the king, and Art's dad is like a ruler, another land, etc. And basically they have been betrothed since birth, but neither of them feel like that. Both of them are drawn to other people. I like this book because it's a queer YA romance. And I do think that, just in terms of the fact that it's 400 pages, I do think this book could have been a little bit shorter, being honest. But I did really still enjoy it. So yeah, it was a strong, like, it was like a good 4-star read, if you know what I mean. Yeah, that's that one. Then I read this one, Till September, Petronella by Rhys. This is a short story collection. Collection, there's like three or four short stories I think in here. And my favourite one was the Rapunzel in this little collection. Fairy tale-esque kind of like thing, kind of job. So yeah, that's why I like that one the best. But yeah, this was okay. It was okay. Then we've got on, obviously the week just passing was the anniversary of September 11th. So that is the day I chose to read 11 by Tom Rogers. And this is a middle grade book. Basically, it's the story of 9/11 from the perspective of a child, which I thought was really interesting, and it was really well done. It also do have a perspective from a guy called Guy in White Shirt. So obviously that has a lot of the more brutal kind of aspects of 9/11. Obviously it still is middle grade, but just obviously content warnings, obviously, you know, for this. So yeah, I found it very moving, and yeah, I do recommend it. I think it was a good book, and it's about basically as well our lead character, for his birthday, basically wants a dog, so it sort of has like that little relationship in there as well, which I thought that tenderness was really beautiful as well within the story. So yeah. Then the next book I read was Canary Rowe by John Steinbeck, and this I've read, I think this is like my 5th Steinbeck, I think. This is like my least favourite. It's obviously it's set in like this sort of industrialised sort of area, obviously, and then it's sort of all the characters living along this like obviously Canary Rowe, and you have like a sort of like a colourful cast of characters who have various roles within this little community. There's one of the characters called Doc has these like loads of like things in jars, and he basically has a lot of, nearly almost anything you can think of in a jar, including, sorry, content warnings, like a human fetus. So obviously that was like a little bit and then also one of the things I noticed about this, which is the kind of like that kept on sort of making me like not laugh, but I was like, why are all these there was all these frogs in this book, and there was talk of acquiring frogs. Frogs were like, I guess, a easy way of getting like money, because they'd use it, like they could sell them and make, yeah. So apparently so I was googling why there were so many frogs in this book, and why was it a thing. Apparently the frogs symbolise good intentions and ambitions, apparently. This book is obviously talking a lot about tolerance and acceptance. So yeah, I liked it. It was okay. I don't feel like it gave me super Steinbecky feels, if you know what I mean. So I think that's probably because I know this is like Brian from Bookish's favourite that he's read he doesn't really like Steinbeck, and I think maybe that could be why, because it doesn't feel super Steinbecky to me, as it doesn't feel as Steinbecky as some of the other ones I've read, if that makes any sense to you. If you've read Steinbeck, maybe you'll know what I mean. So maybe that's why you liked it, Brian, because it just didn't give me those feels. I liked it, but it's probably my least favourite, like I said. So then we've got, oh yeah, I've got a DNF. I DNF'd S by Slavenka Drakulik, and this was one that I was going to have for, I think it was like, I can't remember the name of the shorts. Anyway, the one where you're trying to impress your friends or something, or impress people, or act cool or something. But I tried a chapter of this, and there was so much brutality within the first chapter. Like I've obviously read The Eighth Life, which is like nearly 1,000 pages by Nino Haratoshvili. It's one of my favourite books, and there is a lot of violence in that book, a lot of hard-hitting things. But basically, I felt like within the first chapter of this book, there was kind of like not as much brutality as in The Eighth Life, but it felt like almost like that. It felt like it was just, and I was just like, I just can't read this. It's just, I feel like I'm quite good at reading brutal things, but it was too much even for me. So yeah, maybe just be aware of this going, like, if you are wanting to try it. But thank you so much, Alice, for sending it to me. I did really appreciate it. So I'm going to try and get I'll pass this on to someone else that will love it, and will hopefully get more out of it than I can. Then we have the next book I read, I'll put the cover on screen, which is The Girls of Slender Means by Muriel Sparks. And this is about a group of girls that, not a group of girls, but a group of young women who are sort of staying in this building, and the lives of their lives living in this building. And it's set in 1945, so it's literally as the war is sort of like closing up, wrapping up. But all these characters obviously experienced all the brutality, and have been like, they're like, it talks about like obviously rationing, etc, etc. It's obviously very, very, very short book, but the main thing with this book is that I will 100% tell you, I guess that's the same with to be fair, with a lot of short books, you have to be careful of this. Do not read the blurb, because the blurb gives away the ending. And I was like, what? Again, I was confused. I hate that when that happens. I know obviously like classics it happens more, and actually particularly on the cover that I have, it actually gives away the ending on the cover that I actually physically own, so I'm not going to show that cover, obviously, as you can see. That's why I've got the other cover. So the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is the ones I'm currently reading, which I'm currently listening to Love Stories by Trent Dalton. This is a non-fiction that Trent Dalton wrote in 2021. It was basically as the sort of like, I think it was like just as the pandemic was sort of like easing off a little bit, he decided that someone close to him that he knew growing up passed away. Sadly, I think it was like a friend's mum sort of thing, and he inherited her typewriter. It was a sky blue Olivetti typewriter. He decided to sit on a street corner and listen, and then ask the passers-by one question, and the question was, can you please tell me a love story? And so he listened to all these love stories, and that's basically what this book is about. It's him it's him retelling those stories, and obviously some of the stories are like very sweet la la la, and then some of them are obviously a lot more brutal and hard hitting. Obviously brutal, but like there are content warnings for like suicide and discussions of suicide, etc. But yeah, so it's just a really, really beautiful book. I feel like it's one I don't want to really rush, because I feel like it could easily ruin it, so I'm sort of obviously interspersing it with other things, and as you will see in a second. So yeah, that's that. Also, as you guys watch this, it's Agatha Christie's birthday, so I'm filming on a Friday. Obviously normally I film on a Thursday, but I just wasn't feeling very well yesterday. Side note. So yeah, and so as a result, and because I wasn't feeling very well yesterday, actually, I started listening to this book, which is 5 Little Pigs by Agatha Christie. I knew I wanted a shorty by Agatha Christie. So the one I chose was 5 Little Pigs, and this one is lovely Alice from Alice in the Giant Bookshelf's favourite Agatha Christie of all time. And so I bought it ages ago on Kindle, but I've also seen that it was on Scribd, and because, like I said, I wasn't feeling very well yesterday, so I made a little start on it yesterday, and I'm sort of buddy reading it with the lovely Kelly. Hi Kelly. And so over sort of 2 days. So yeah, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm about halfway, and it's just really, really good. I feel like you can really hear like Hercule Poirot's really confidence in this from the off, and this is the premise of 5 Little Pigs is that Caroline Crail is accused of killing her husband, of poisoning her husband. She writes a letter to her daughter. So then the beginning of the book is her daughter, Caroline's daughter, comes to Hercule Poirot saying she wants to know, her mother was convicted of this and obviously died because of this murder. She was accused of it and then got punished for it. And so the daughter goes to Hercule Poirot and just asks, she wants to know the truth. And so obviously it's Hercule Poirot solving the case, and the 5 Little Pigs refer to the 5 suspects. And so yeah, it's just really, really good. I just think it's really good. I don't want to spoil too much. I feel like I went in not knowing very much, so I just think that's the best way with all of these kinds of little short books, especially, but also like mysteries. And it was just really, it's like I said, halfway, and I'm just really enjoying it. So I can 100% see why it's Alice's favourite. So yeah, it's really, really good. And also it's narrated by Hugh Fraser, I think, the audiobook, I think that's right, and it's the narration's spot on. So in terms of future reads, at the weekend I'm planning on reading, irony, The Weekend by Charlotte Wood. This is going to be hopefully my plan for the weekend, because I want to read The Weekend over the weekend. Am I stupid for that? Probably. And it's like 300 or something pages, so as long as my headaches can stay at bay, and I can try and finish, maybe I can make a start on it later today if I have a chance. But yeah, I'm excited to read this. Right, so those are all the books. Normally at this point I would do my booker rankings, but next week the booker is the shortlist is being announced. So myself and Charlie will be filming a Charlie science video / shortlist predictions, which is something that we do, like I say every year, but like obviously last year I think was the first year that we filmed it together. And right, so yeah, I'm super excited to film with Charlie next week, and I obviously can't wait to actually see what gets shortlisted. I still have 3 books left to read. I've still got A Spell of Good Things, I've got Western Lane by Chetna Marie, and I've got East of Eden. got Steinbeck on my head. I've got This Other Eden by Paul Harding, which I've just requested from the library because they've just managed to, I think they're just purchasing a copy now. So hopefully I will be able to get that. Even if it doesn't get shortlisted, I'll at least try it because I want to try. I'm going to do try before I do the Tiny Science video. I will try a chapter of at least all of them. So at least that way it kind of gives it a bit more of a fair shot to the ones I haven't read. So I feel like a first chapter, you kind of get a good first impression anyway. So in terms of my Shorty September, I'm still managing a book a day. I've got my little squares, I'm colouring them in. So you see, I'm up to 14. So today will be the 15th with my Agatha Christie, which I'm very happy for. Hopefully should be able to get that done. And yeah, so that's really good. And then I'll show you some of the books I picked up. I went book shopping with Emily on Wednesday to Wokingham because we regularly are now going, like every other month we go to Wokingham together, which is very fun. I wasn't actually planning on buying any books because I'm trying to clear my shelves before October and before my holidays and stuff, because I'm going to book shopping obviously on my birthday time, etc. So anyway, either way, but I did end up picking up two. I picked up two books, but they're two books that I've already read. So I've got Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, which was I got this for £1 in the charity shop, and it's like practically in brand new condition, like it's in perfect condition. And this is one I loved. I've got this on Kindle, but I loved it so much, so I really can't wait to reread this in the winter. I feel like it's a good like wintry read, so yeah, love that one. And then I also got myself another edition of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, because I just love this edition, and it was like, again, from the charity shop, I think it was like £2.50, and I do already have a nice edition of this book, but I really love this. Like, I feel like this could be my favourite Dickens anyway. Great Expectations, is it? Or David Copperfield? It's a tie between David Copperfield and this. But yeah, I really loved this when I read this. So yeah, like you can't have too many beautiful editions of books. I always end up getting multiple editions of my favourite books. Do you guys do that? And so then in terms of what books I picked up from the library, as you guys know, last week I picked up Western Lane. So I've actually got the physical copy to read and retry. If it doesn't make the shortlist, I don't know whether I'll properly read it. We'll see. Because obviously I have already DNF'd it on audiobook. We will see. We will see. Then another book that I picked up that I found in the library, Banksy, Graffiti Walls and Wasn't Sorry. So it's kind of like a picture book, but it's a non-fiction picture book about Banksy, which I just think is so cool. So yeah, I can't wait to actually read this, and this is going to be again for my Shorty September, and it'll be a really good one because then it means like it's one of the ones that I can read when I'm trying to read other books, like with the weekend, etc. I might read that this weekend. And then, so yeah, so that is all the books. That is everything. I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about. I don't think so. Yeah. What are you excited? Are you guys excited for the Booker shortlist next week? What do you think will be listed? What will be your favourites? Let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to chat to you guys. So anyway, enough of me nattering. Take care and send you guys lots of love. Goodbye.